What if the moment that defines you is not the trophy you lift, but the wound you refuse to let close? What if greatness is not a destination, but a decision renewed every morning before sunrise? In the gray-blue hush of early morning, a teenage boy laces his shoes in an empty gym that smells like dust, leather, and possibility. The world thinks greatness arrives later after the spotlight, after the roar, but he knows it begins here, in silence. He is a newcomer in his own birthplace, an American kid who grew up in Italy, now back in Pennsylvania. Repeating footwork, he learned from study, obsession, and hunger. Every squeak of his soles is a vow. I will close the gap. I will earn the right to dream this big. There is no audience here, only the echo of a ball and a voice inside his chest. He is 16, rail-thin, eyes sharpened by concentration, cataloging every weakness as if it were a rare book. The drill is ruthless. Pivot, rise, release again and again, until the motion is so honest it could testify in court. The gym clock blinks past dawn. He stacks hours like bricks. He is not chasing a highlight. He is building a cathedral. When he finally leaves, the sun is up, but the vow remains. He will carry it to a high school game, to a national stage, and to a franchise that will come to rely on his nerve. But for now, the decision is quiet, private, and immensely brave to embrace the long road to become a student of failure, to sharpen himself until doubt has nowhere left to hide. If you enjoy stories that inspire, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more. The boy will meet glory and grief. He will be loved and vilified, cheered and booed, hurt and healed. He will reinvent himself more than once. And long after the jerseys hang in the rafters, what will remain is not only a record, but a method, a standard, a language for effort itself, a mentality that outlives the body that forged it. He spent his childhood translating the game. In Italian gyms, where the language changed but the geometry did not, he studied footwork the way a violinist studies scales. He learned patience from watching European ball movement, angles from old tapes, courage from the quiet hours when only your breath hears your promise. Back in the United States, he is the outsider twice over, international in habit, local in address. He arrives at Lower Merion with a suitcase full of drills and a mind already. Rehearsing the moments he wants to meet, he does not wait to be chosen. He chooses the work. He sketches plays in a notebook, writes his goals like prayers, and catalogs rival tendencies the way a detective builds a case file. Coaches see a teenager with a veteran's appetite for repetition. Teammates see someone who arrives early and leaves late, who treats practice like a courtroom where truth is cross-examined until only craft remains. The town, at first skeptical, begins to gather around the furnace of his will. There is glamour in the box scores, but the transformation is more subtle. He is inventing a ritual life. Film before school, free throws by the 100, footwork on air until the body can recite the sentence of a fadeaway in its sleep. He learns to love boredom because boredom is the door through which mastery enters. He learns to love suffering because suffering is the tax greatness charges the impatient. He learns to love the target on his back because pressure is proof that a standard has arrived. By senior year, he is no longer a rumor. He becomes a champion, the boy who brought an improbable banner to a gym that had forgotten what banners felt like. The old men at the diner say his name with the tone reserved for when they're inevitable, changeable, sometimes violent, always arriving. College recruiters circle. Microphones appear, and the next decision hums in his chest like a chord waiting to be struck. Accept the traditional path, or leap. He will leap. The suit is crisp, the smile is bright, but the steadiest thing in the room is his conviction. The leap from high school to the pros is not a skip. It is a canyon jump. He knows the headlines will declare it audacity. He calls it alignment. Under the lights of draft night in 1996, the future is shuffled like cards. He is selected and traded. And a city of neon and night, the Los Angeles, of billboards and palm trees waits with open arms and folded expectations. The Lakers are a franchise of ghosts who hover near the ceiling, reminding every newcomer that banners are not decorations. They are debts paid in full. He arrives with number 8 stitched to his chest and a hunger stitched to his ribs. The league is not a welcoming committee. It is a gauntlet. He learns quickly that talent is the cost of admission, not the price of the meal. Veterans test him. The schedule bites, but his appetite is bottomless. He is the first to the practice facility, the last to leave, the one who calls an assistant at midnight to open the gym. He misses, he studies. He turns a weakness into homework and submits that homework on national television. The early years are not neat. Confidence seasons into arrogance and back again. He becomes a contestant in a slam dunk contest and wins. He becomes a teenager whose mistakes are televised. He becomes a guard who insists on taking the last shot even when the last shot burns. In the playoffs, he tastes the bitterness of an air ball in the cold of Utah. And in that humiliation, he finds a mirror that does not flatter. He stares until the truth speaks. Pain is feedback, not fate. The city tests him as he tests himself. Partnerships form and fray. The camera's love is conditional. It will kiss you at noon and ignore you by nightfall. The only reliable witness is the work. So he returns to the lab, adds counters to counters, strength to skill, patience to ambition. Somewhere between midnight and morning, audacity transforms into inevitability. When the lights come back, he is ready to stand beside giant sand to build his own height, one ruthless possession at a time. Dynasties are made of hard choices and harder practices. In the early 2000s, Los Angeles becomes a forge. Gold fabric clings to sweat. The offense hums like a machine tuned by obsession. He studies footwork like cartography, mapping each defender's hip position, each help scheme's blind spot, each angle where daylight is measured in inches. The partnership at the core of the team is combustible. Two suns in a single sky rarely share the noonbutt. For a time, the orbit holds, and the league watches a storm of inevitability roll in from the coast. Championships do not look like parades when they are being built. They look like the seventh sprint when your lungs want to bargain. They look like tape study until your eyes water. They look like refusing to accept yesterday's excellence as today's baseline. He becomes an encyclopedia of counters, step-throughs against length, jabongo against slower feet, the fadeaway that arcs like a secret whispered to the rafters. And on the other end, he treats defense as reputation management with receipts feet dancing. Hands quick, attention merciless. The city learns the taste of June confetti. The league learns to schedule its ambitions around their inevitability. He earns rings that glitter like punctuation marks at the end of sentences. No one believes he could write this young. And yet, even within triumph, there is turbulence friction that accompanies greatness, the way thunder accompanies lightning. After the music, there are questions that trophies cannot answer for you. Who are you when the confetti is swept? What remains when applause has off-ramp? He changes his number to 24, as if to declare a rebirth every hour, all day. He leans further into the monk-like discipline that will become his signature. He chases a quieter standard execution that feels like inevitability. And if the outside world narrates drama, he narrates drills. He is building not just a career, but a method for surviving success without drowning in it. The cost of excellence is always due, and the bill always arrives at the worst time. Some nights belong to the calendar. A few belong to mythology. On a winter evening in 2006, he steps onto the court and becomes an avalanche. The ball becomes an extension of thought. The rim, a magnet with a memory. He scores in clusters that feel like weather events, pull-ups, drives, threes that arc like comets, free throws measured like heartbeats. By midnight, the number pinned to the night is 81. A testament not to selfishness, but to preparation meeting permission. He does not chase points. He chases the perfect decision over and over until the arithmetic adds up to a W. Greatness scales expectation. From that night forward, the league defends him as if defending a legend in real time. Double teams arrive as early as the parking lot. Schemes trap the ball as if it were an outlaw. He responds by widening his vision, passing windows discovered in the split second where fear and courage occupy the same square foot of hardwood. He learns to read help as sentences, to punctuate plays with the exact mark the moment demands. But empires attract storms. The roster changes. The city's patience thins like late-night air. He is asked to score, to lead, to mentor, to win, to smile at cameras, to swallow criticism, to generate miracles on demand. He welcomes the burden not because it is fair, but because it is clarifying. Pressure reduces everything to essence. Under its heat, pretense burns off. What remains is the person you decided to be years ago in an empty gym. He redoubles his devotion to craft. The fadeaway gains new angles. The footwork becomes poetry that demands close reading. The body is asked to be a cathedral again, but cathedrals age. He hears the faint complaints of tendons, the negotiations of knees. Still, he meets the dawn with sweat and a plan. The empire will not be maintained by nostalgia. It will be maintained by the same things that built it: film, repetition, humility before the truth of the tape. In April 2013, a sound like a rubber band snapping cuts through the night. He knows immediately. He tries to plant, and the earth falls away. An Achilles tendon is not a suggestion. It is a verdict. The stadium quiets into a cathedral of concern. He stands up anyway. He walks to the free throw line, eyes steady, and delivers to shots not as points, but as manifestos. Then he walks off under his own power as if to say, "You can break the body." But the agreement remains intact. Rehab becomes a second career, conducted in private. He studies the anatomy of patience, a subject with no highlight reel. The routine is relentless. Micro-movements, anti-gravity treadmills, elastic bands, pain-logged like data. He battles the clock, the doubt, the whispers that arrive disguised as concern. He answers with mornings that begin earlier than sense would advise. He answers with an identity that survived the injury because it was never built on leaping, but on learning. The comeback is not a return to innocence. It is a return to truth. Minutes are rationed. Bursts come and go like weather, but the purpose is as fierce as ever: to compete honestly with time, to demonstrate that dignity is not passive. He plays through whispers, then through silence, then through a new sound he had long prepared for. The applause reserved for someone who refuses comfort. When comfort is a perfectly reasonable choice, he begins to coach in his own way, pulling young players aside to translate the language of the league, reminding them that the film does not lie, that the rim does not care about your feelings, that the best question to ask after a bad night is, "What did I learn that I can apply tomorrow at 4 a.m.? He is still a scorer, still a closer, but something else is emerging at the edges of the frame, an architect preparing a second act built on teaching, storytelling, and the strange glory of starting over. The last chapter of a playing career often fades. His ends with a sunrise. On his final night in 2016, he gives a masterclass in memory and will. 60 points bloomed from habit and heart, from a script he wrote in notebooks and sweat long before the lights found it. The arena becomes a choir of gratitude. Teammates feed him, opponents nod. The city that watched him grow stands to testify. This was not just entertainment. This was apprenticeship in public. Then he does something rare among legends. He lets go. Retirement is not a void to him. It is a studio. He builds stories the way he built jumpers draft after draft, layer after layer. He writes Dear Basketball, transforming a love letter into an Oscar, proving that craft is portable when devotion is the suitcase. He creates a foundation that treats youth sports as a classroom for character. He teaches girls to play without apology, to speak fluent footwork, to believe their work can change the weather of a game and the climate of a life. The Mamba mentality becomes a book, a language, a shorthand for relentless curiosity. It is not about aggression for its own sake. It is about honesty. Can you face the film, accept what it shows, and make the correction without flinching? He speaks about process with the fervor of a coach and the precision of a poet. He becomes at last what he had been training to be all along, a steward of standards, a mentor disguised as a competitor, a father who studies the grin on his daughter's face as carefully as he once studied a defender's stance. He appears lighter now, not because the work has diminished, but because purpose has diversified. He is a champion of possibility, in gyms and classrooms and studios where a new generation rehearses courage. The second act is not an epilogue. It is a redefinition. He is living proof that greatness ages best when it chooses to teach. Some stories end with a scoreboard. This one continues as a verb spoken by millions before dawn. The loss in 2020 tore a seam in the world. It took a father, a daughter named Gianna, with a fierce gaze and soft laugh, friends and mentors, future chapters unwritten. The grief was wide because the gift had been wide. Discipline offered freely, standards shared without stinginess, a vocabulary for aspiring boldly. The world stood in silence, and then remembered the contract he lived by. Honor the work, love your people, make today's effort worthy of tomorrow's memory. His legacy is not fragile glass locked in a museum. It is a toolkit. It is the habit of asking better questions about your craft. It is the decision to meet boredom with patience, pain with information, success with humility, failure with generosity. It is the choice to rebuild after the rupture, to write again, to shoot again, to mentor again, to love again. The banners will hang, the records will stand, the film will speak. But the truest monument is internal, a standard, portable, and personal, that when practiced turns ordinary mornings into sacred ground. If this story moved you, leave a comment and tell us where you're watching from. And don't forget, every like, comment, and subscription helps the algorithm share more stories that inspire. Thank you for supporting this channel. Your engagement keeps these narratives alive and helps us bring more light, hope, and purpose to people who might need it most today.